Hello everyone, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Command Shifting Sands, the scenario Red Sea Rumble. This is the first battle in the campaign of the new game out, Command Shifting Sands. Command Shifting Sands is I don't know if expansion is the right, it's a standalone expansion of Command Modern Air Naval Operations, which has recently come out. It's made by Warfare Sims, and it's published by Matrix and Slitherine Games. In our last video, we did a first look at this particular game. It's not something I've spent a ton of time in, and it was just sort of getting started in the campaign. So Shifting Sands takes the Command universe into the Middle Eastern conflicts ranging from the 1950s all the way through to at least the 1980s, dealing with things like the attack by the Israelis on the Iraqi nuclear facility in the 80s, as well as the Suez crisis between British, French forces, and as well as the Egyptian forces that were fighting. Now, this is the first battle in the campaign for Shifting Sands, which is called Red Sea Rumble. In our first video, we took a look at the beginning phase of that battle. It's the first battle of the campaign is 6 hours long. We're about 3.5 hours into it. We've already fought 2 Egyptian ships, sunk 2 Egyptian, what I believe are frigates, and we have not lost anything on our side. In fact, the Egyptians haven't even gotten off a shot against us, which I may be violating my orders, because my orders say not to attack anyone until we're fired upon. But the vessels were confirmed hostile by my radar and by my crew, and so I exercised my authority as a commander to open fire on those units, and thus far, I haven't been penalized for it. If we go to the scoring, we can see we have a current score of 125. That gives us a major victory, but we actually need a 170 score or higher in order to advance. So right now, we've got about 2.5 hours left in the battle. We've cleared Point Bravo, which is the southern point here. We've identified all of these ships here are friendly ships. They're all in green now. They're DOAs. These 3 ships here on the bottom, we're not quite sure what they are, but I believe they're friendly as well, just based on the fact that they're only moving at 2 knots. But it doesn't say they're civilians, it says they're skunks, so I suppose they could be enemy vessels. However, we have to get all the way up here to Point Alpha before, or at least destroy more enemy ships before our time runs out. We've got 2 hours and 37 minutes, so I decided I've got 2 task forces here, and I decided to race the heavier task force with a destroyer and a cruiser, that being task force 324.01. It has the HMS Diana, and it has the HMS Newfoundland, a Fiji-class cruiser in the Newfoundland is, and the Diana is, I'm not sure, is it a Daring-class destroyer? But in doing so, I ensured I defeated those 2 Egyptian ships with ease. However, if there are enemy adversaries up here near Point Alpha, we don't have a ton of time to get back up there and deal with them. So actually what I'm going to do here, given I only have 2 hours and 37 minutes, I'm going to go into the throttle, and I'm going to go ahead and flank speed it. I mean, I'm going to burn through fuel like crazy, but given the scenario only lasts 2 more hours, I need to get up there because I need to destroy more enemy ships, and I'm going to do that for both of these groups. I don't know if I can I form a new task force? Let's see here. No. It doesn't look like I can just detach. Well, actually, let's go back up here to map settings. Let's change it to unit view. Can I detach this unit? Yeah. So I'm going to take a risk here, and I'm going to detach the Wave Sovereign, which is a refueling tanker. We've got 2 frigates escorting, but I'm going to detach it, hoping that there's no enemy adversaries here in the south, and then I'm going to try and race my remaining forces back north. So the Wave Sovereign is a fleet oiler, obviously a big, slow, lumbering target. It will be very exposed. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the rest of the force to flank speed, which is 21 knots, far faster. So I'm going to try and close Task Group 1, which is a destroyer and a cruiser, and 2 frigates in the Task Group 2 to move north as quickly as possible so we can try and get to Point Alpha before time expires. It looks like flank speed for our cruisers and destroyers are 31 knots. Our frigates are 20-some-odd knots if we go back in here. Their speed's 21 knots. So we're going to end up opening up a gap here. I had closed these 2 forces together with the intent of having them operate together, but in the interest of trying to get north as quickly as possible, I'm going to go ahead and shift them both over to flank speed and accept the fact that they're going to get separated over time. That being said, we've got a ways to go. I'm going to go ahead and jump us up to 15 time compression, and I'll pause the second we identify anything hostile. You can see here we're identifying more of these ships as friendly, as neutrals, or at least not as hostiles. You can see here green, green, green all across the board as we continue advancing. We're down to an hour and 40 some odd minutes left. A lot more enemy or friendly shipping, I suppose, being detected here. We're down under an hour. Oh, wait. We've got 2 hostile enemy vessels detected, at least. It appears they're more or something. And it looks like they're shooting, so I've paused. Let's go ahead and slow down the time compression to real time. You can see this little tracer here represents that the enemy is shooting at us. If we go to losses and expenditures, we can see the enemy has expended a 102mm shell from a quick-firing Mark 19 artillery piece from the Matura. I'm not sure... I don't know if I have... It's looks like it's a Bangor class mine countermeasure ship, so it doesn't seem to be too deadly. If we go down here and look at its weapons, it has a single 102mm gun, a single 20mm Oerlikon cannon, or what is it? Quick burst anti-aircraft gun usually is what I think of the Oerlikons, and it has some machine guns. Not a lot of weaponry here, certainly not anything that should be threatening to a couple of a destroyer and a frigate, but we're going to go ahead and engage. Let's see here. Automatic fire is allowed from our 152mm. I missed that, by the way. There's a 6-inch gun, a 152mm gun that I forgot to mention that we had. And then we'll open up with some of our Bofors. It looks like some of our other weapons are kind of on the rear facing of the ship, so they can't actually target the enemy vessel. But I'm hoping that, you know, these shells are sufficient. We can always turn our forces as necessary to engage them. But we've also detected another enemy ship, the Domant, which is also in hostile intent. So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to go ahead and turn north a little bit. Maybe it will expose some of our other guns. Our other task force here is still a little bit far to the south. They've been trailing behind a bit, making 21 knots, but not closing quick enough. I think they'll be there before anything too devastating happens. The Dormant is a frigate, a little bit better armed. She's up there kind of on her own right now. She's got 202mm quick-firing cannons, Mark 19s also, 4 Oerlikons, 1 Hedgehog, which doesn't matter because that's an anti-submarine warfare weapon, some depth charges, again, those don't matter, but a little bit better, but still, a destroyer and a frigate should be able to handle both of these pretty comfortably. Let's go ahead back into combat. You can see here we're opening up fire on the enemy, and actually, we've got one round coming in. I don't know where that round's coming from. Oh wait, no, that's because I'm still in group view. When we switch over to unit view, we'll see we've got the HMS Diana back here, and we've got the HMS Newfoundland, the cruiser, up front. So we're firing some longer range shells here from the Diana, and the Newfoundland's firing a lot more. You can see here, it looks like we did take a hit on the Newfoundland. That 102mm shell did strike home, 100% penetration achieved. But we're shooting back with great hopefully effectiveness. You can see here the enemy's flooding is already wow. I didn't even look back to see what just a couple of shells. This thing must not be very, very strong, being a mine counter warfare ship, assuming it doesn't have much in the way of armor. You can see these shells streaking in. Its flooding is almost to critical. I would imagine we're going to sink this guy here pretty quick. Fire damage now as well. Some of these rounds going. I mean, this is a bomb. This is a BDA, so it's a damage assessment. So it could be wrong. There is some fog of war, I believe, in there as well. But we're hitting home quite a bit. If you look here on the left side of the screen, you'll see quite a few hits. When you see that 100% penetration achieve, and you see below that the impact, you can see that we are hitting it pretty effectively. I think she's going to go down pretty darn quickly, and maybe that'll be enough for a victory. She's destroyed. All right, so she is sunk. Now what that means we're going to do here is we're going to zoom out a bit. We're going to move up north a little bit, and actually, let's go ahead and move back to group view. Let's go ahead and give the task group some new orders. Let's go ahead and give them a manual attack option on the Domant here in the north. It is in range of our 6-inch guns, our 152mm guns. Not all of them can range on it, but some of them can, and our 114mm as well on the destroyer. So we can start longer range fire here on the Domant. She's a frigate, so I imagine that she'll put up a little bit better of a fight, perhaps. In any case, did the enemy get more than one round off, or did they fire one round and it hit us? Nope, they got 202 millimeter quick-fire Mark 19 shots off against us. One of them hit home. If we look at go back to the unit settings here as we open fire. The Newfoundland took a hit, but it doesn't look like any real damage of note. So we've got shells streaking in here. Let's take a real quick moment here. We're up to a 155 score, so we need 15 more. That last kill was worth 20. I imagine the next kill will be worth more than that, given it's a frigate, but she'll probably also take more damage here. You can see she's already firing back, the Egyptian vessel. We've got several 100% penetration hits already, and yeah. Let's see here. Waiting for these shells to go in here. Kind of watching as things streak in. Okay, so the Domet is... Alright, so our 114s... Enemies firing back pretty rapidly now. Let's see what they're shooting at us. If we go to... I could wait to see what the shell hits are, but looks like they're firing 102 millimeters at us. We'll see how accurate the Egyptian vessels are. You can see a lot of these shells streaking in here. Our own shells are moving in. The Domet... This little orange thing tells me that there's some substantial damage. DDA says medium damage. We have no idea on flood or anything like that. Impact Domet 100%. Okay, so far these are all missing. You can see here misses by 500 feet, 22 feet, 63 feet, 429. Wow, 0.7 nautical miles. So the Egyptians' fire is not terribly accurate. Nope, that's another hit, but that's on the Domet itself. So we're firing away here. Trying to finish it off here. We've got an hour and 15 minutes left in this particular battle. I think we'll speed things up a little bit. Move it up to 2 seconds per real second. We may have knocked out the Domet's fires, its weaponry. Either that or it's got to reload. You can see heavy damage. We've seen some fires now. Remember, the fight is taking place now in the early morning hours. It's almost 5 a.m. And we're, I imagine, getting better fire control because we've got a better sight on the enemy. They have dropped to 0 knots, so they are not moving. Meanwhile, we're continuing to close the range at 31 knots. Given they're not moving, you can see here we're hitting very regularly. The 152 hit, 152 hit, 152 hit, 3 straight hits there. Make it a 4th straight hit. The enemy is dead in the water and just eating shells. Southern Task Force is trying to close at 21 knots, but they're still a little ways out. So again, given the enemy sitting dead in the water, it's a lot easier to finish it off here, this enemy frigate. We'll increase to 5 seconds, and there it goes. It's destroyed. Alright, so you'll now be presented with the evaluation of your performance. We won the battle, a triumph, final score of 205, so victory condition fired. I believe there may have been some enemy motor torpedo boats a little bit further north, but we didn't get that far. We won the battle. And we now have the option of continuing the campaign. If we, I guess I can, okay, I can pause it. We can do a final evaluation. So our score is a triumph. We passed the campaign and we're ready to move on. But if we go to losses and expenditures, we can see the enemy lost 4 ships. One of them was a mine counter-warfare ship. 3 of them were frigates. They fired just a total of 10 102mm rounds. The United Kingdom expended some 66 6-inch shells, 153 what I believe are 5-inch shells. Or like 4 point something, 170 102 millimeters, 132 40 millimeter Bofors, and 54 single 40 millimeter Bofors. No losses. The neutrals also, the side the Dawas, they lost nothing as well. So quite a bit of ammunition expended on our side, but for 4 sinkings, receiving only 10 rounds in return, only 1 enemy round hit us. I think we're good there. So Egyptian frigate sunk, minesweeper sunk, destroyer. Oh, they did have 1 destroyer. So the, what was it? The El Coher was a destroyer. And I believe these were all ex-Royal Navy vessels as well. They all served under the Royal Navy during World War II. So that wins us the battle here. We can go ahead and choose continue campaign. And what ends up coming up next is the cross-border skirmish Israel versus Syria. So it's going to move us forward to 1964. So we're going to jump ahead out of the oh my goodness, I can't even think, the Suez Crisis, and into the 60s campaign in the Golan Heights. It's a 4-hour-long scenario. You can see following the Arab-Israeli War, Israel and Syria both claimed sovereignty over the demilitarized zone along their border. Zones were set up as part of the ceasefire ending the war. Israel attempted to farm the land in these zones, while Syria developed a project to divert water from the Jordan River, which Israel shared with both Syria and Jordan. The Syrian forces fired on Israeli tractors attempting to farm the zones, while Israel looked for ways to interrupt the Syrian diversion project. On November 13th, 1964, Syrian forces stationed atop the Golan Heights, a plateau overlooking Israeli territory in the Jordan River Valley, fired on Israeli tractors. Israeli forces returned fire, Syrian artillery targeted Israeli civilian villages, and Israel responded with air attacks on Syrian forces. The skirmish then escalated rapidly. So I'm not sure if this is just a actual cross-border skirmish or if this is the start of a bigger war. I don't know a ton about the Arab-Israeli conflicts. I believe it was in 1967 was the sort of first big, not the first big war, actually. That's wrong to say. I mean, the 48 war was big. The Suez Crisis was certainly large in a way. But the 67 conflict was, I believe, the ones where Israel took over the Sinai, and they also took, was it the Golan Heights? And then the 73 when Yom Kippur war happened, when Syria and Egypt launched a coordinated counterattack to try and take back those territories? Right around that time period. I'm not sure, maybe it was 64 was the first major war, but I thought that was later. Either way, this is starting off as a cross-border skirmish, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to do that in our next video, though. We're already about 16 minutes in. We've won the Red Sea Rumble. I know this video was probably a little bit less action-packed. It was kind of more mopping up. I didn't really know what the enemy had left, but we'll continue this in a follow-on video. So cross-border skirmish will be our next look at command. Tomorrow I'm going to post some Ultimate General, and then Wednesday we'll be posting our first look at the To End All War series with XTRG Tortuga and myself, and then I think we'll return to Command Shifting Sands on Thursday is my intent. And we'll probably do something like an every other day kind of thing with Command for the next couple of weeks, alternating between it and Ultimate General Civil War. And then, of course, Wednesdays for sure will be reserved for our To End All Wars series between Tortuga, XTRG, and myself. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a little bit on the shorter end, but until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.